right, we are streaming to YouTube. We are ready when you are.
Okay. I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It is Monday, September 8th, 2025. It's 7 p.m. Chief, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for tonight's meeting. Warner?
Here.
Yeah. Barnwell is excused. Wells? Here. Kreitz?
Here.
Finch? Here. Osenga? Here. And Mayor McClure?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We have two proclamations tonight, and I'm going to ask the Vice Mayor to read the first one so I don't have to read them both.
This is a proclamation for Patriot Day. Whereas the unprovoked attacks of September 11, 2001 upon America by foreign terrorists have thrust the United States and other countries into a war it never envisioned, militarily or diplomatically, and whereas the challenges facing all the people of the world as they relate to the war on terrorism will not end until those with radical ideas that are contrary to peaceful ideals of the free world, and whereas America is fully committed to ensuring our freedom remains unfettered and sovereign for all generations now and forever, and whereas world opinion needs to remain focused upon the elimination of these inhuman acts perpetrated around the globe, and whereas one way to accomplish this is to never forget that those innocent victims did not die in vain, and whereas America can fight back by reminding the world that the deaths of these people will always be remembered and that they will be forever loved, and whereas first responders from Seward and the state are honored and supported when they are called to serve and defeat inhuman acts of terrorism, and whereas a noble and appropriate way to accomplish this is through the annual celebration of their life and their service, and whereas this commemoration should be conducted each September 11th throughout the land to include the promotion of global peace and goodwill, the demonstration of America's resolve and perseverance to win the war on terrorism, the encouragement of patriotism and love of country, and the poignant remembrance of those innocent victims who died on September 11th as heroes one and all. Now therefore, Sue McClure, Mayor of the City of Seward, Alaska, does hereby issue this proclamation in remembrance of and with eternal respect for those whose lives were taken on September 11th, 2001. Not to be forgotten are those who have passed away in the aftermath of the attacks, and those who continue to struggle with lingering side effects due to the psychological and physical harm done, dated this 8th day of September, 2025 in the City of Seward, Alaska.
Thank you. And I don't know that we have anyone to receive this, but we'll hang on to it. It might go with this next one. The second proclamation is for American Legion Day. Whereas the American Legion was chartered by Congress in 1919 on September 16th as a wartime veterans organization based on the 4 pillars of Veterans Affairs and Rehabilitation: national security, Americanism, and children and youth. And whereas over the years the American Legion has become a preeminent community service organization which now numbers more than 2 million members, men and women, in nearly 13,000 American Legion posts worldwide, working a variety of programs that support the 4 pillars and benefit our nation's veterans, its service members, their families, the youth of America, and its citizens. And whereas the Alaska American Legion has grown to be the largest and most active major veterans organization and advocate for veterans' rights in the state of Alaska, and whereas the Alaska American Legion's current membership is over 8,000 with 35 chartered posts, which include legionnaires, auxiliary members, and sons of the American Legion. And whereas the American Legion continues to serve Alaskans veterans, members of the armed forces and their families throughout its hospital visits, financial assistance, oratorical scholarship programs, boys and girls state programs, and the continued fight for the rights of veterans and our military through active legislation at the state and national level. And whereas a charter was issued to the originating Legionnaires in Seward, establishing the American Legion Seward Post Number 5 on December 31st, 1919, and whereas the members of the American Legion Seward Post Number 5 are dedicated to upholding the ideals of freedom and democracy while working to make a difference in the lives of fellow Americans, and whereas the 2025 observance of American Legion Day provides an opportunity to recognize Legionnaires in our community for their many contributions to our city of Seward. Now therefore I, Sue McClure, Mayor of the City of Seward, Alaska, do hereby proclaim September 16th, 2025 as the American Legion Day, and do call upon all citizens, businesses, and organizations to join in paying tribute to the good works of the American Legion as a token of the public appreciation of the wartime and peacetime services our Legionnaires have given to the community and nation, dated this 8th day of September 2025 in the city of Seward, Alaska. And I think we all owe a debt to all the veterans and appreciation to the American Legion. I was a oratorical contest winner back when I was in high school. I appreciate them for that. Do we have anyone from the Legion that would accept this?
I'm a member of the Legion now.
Do you want to, well, come on up and we'll give it to you and you can bring, maybe deliver it to the post, one of you guys.
Probably go there after the meeting anyway.
And you want to, you guys would deserve the Patriot Day one too, probably over there if you want, and just pass them around, okay?
Appreciate it.
Okay, and
So-
did you want to say anything?
Well, the only thing I'll plug the Legion for
Yeah.
is, so when you get out of active duty, you go through the transition assistance program. And so, like, you're like, what is that? And so the Legion shows up and they help walk the active duty members through the VA, which is actually pretty hard to get through. So my wife and I both had assistance from the Legion filling out our paperwork and getting all of our healthcare benefits set up for the rest of our life, and we're grateful for it. So anyway, I've always been a member of the Legion, and I love being able to go somewhere in Seward in the wintertime and where the food's always hot every night of the week. So.
Well, thank you. And I think we should have a round of applause for both of you. Thank you very much. So we come now to citizen comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. There are 2 public hearing items in section 8 there. You can have 3 minutes to speak on any topic you want except for the public hearing items. There's a total of 36 minutes for this, and there was a sign-up sheet, I believe, and if you didn't sign up, you can still raise your hand after those that signed up get to speak. And when you come up, we need your name and whether you live inside or outside the city limits, just for our records. So, Mr. Clerk, is there anyone signed up?
There's one person signed in, Virginia Allen.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate your time, taking the time for this, but I was the one that wrote to all of you about paving a fog neck.
Okay,
Oh,
you-
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Virginia Allen, 2314 of Fog Neck Avenue.
Thank you.
Inside the city limits.
Okay. There you go. Now you can start.
Got it. But back to that, I was the one that wrote to all of you about paving a fog neck. And I addressed most of my concerns in the email, but the big thing is the trucks that are going up and down and up and down, because that's the closest access point to that large-scale development, which is fine. I was in favor of the large-scale development. Because we need housing here. I don't think any of us ever anticipated the 3 summers of the impact of it, of up to 20 trucks a day, side dumps, construction trucks, all that, up and down, up and down. And it's kicking up so much dust that we don't even open our windows. So, it's bad when you pray for rain and you live in sewer. So one of the things that I talked to all the neighbors, we're asking that a fog neck be paved. It's paved all the way to Oak, and it's paved all the way to on Olympia, on the other end. there's this little section where all the construction traffic is going that is not paved, and it's really bad. So, and you don't want them going up Dora Way, there's too many kids, it's too far away, I mean, that would add all of that. So, we're asking that you consider either speed bumps, temporary speed bumps would help, because that would help. But paving, when the rest of, I don't know if it's Olympia or Phoenix, the rest of that road that's going to be paved, when you're considering, when that's being paved, to consider paving a fog neck. Because it really is that small chunk, and all the traffic is going on that. So, if you have any questions, I've got 58 seconds left.
Well, but we'll address this in our comments later, too.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Virginia. And that was the only sign-in? Okay, does anyone else wish to make any comments? Just raise your hand. Come on up. And even though we all know who you are and where you live, we want you to give your name and all that anyway.
Okay. Bruce Jaffa, outside the city limits, mayor, manager, council members. I have a couple topics. Thank you for the proclamations. In my life, there's a few dates that I have to remember, I need to remember: my wife's birthday, my anniversary, with 12/7/1941, 11/22/1963, and 9/11. They're etched in my memory. I'm sure the new generation will have a new set of numbers, but we all have those memories we carry. PACAB, which I'm proud to have served on for a number of years, has 2 open seats. I encourage the public to consider joining PACAB. PACAB does have a mandate through the code, through the charter, and can offer a valuable service to the city. There are currently 2 openings, so we're down to 5, but we should be able to make our quorum and continue with our work. The Harbor Master project, the South Uplands, I was a little confused when we heard Uplands. I was thinking about it different than North Uplands, but nonetheless, this is a PACAP agenda from 2016. In it are 3 mentions of the Harbor Master's office, or future Harbor Master's office, and the idea that Uplands was a suitable and worthy place for that. So it's not a new idea. It's only 9 years old. God knows how long it'll take for it to come to fruition, but it's a worthwhile thing. Sewer elections are coming up. There are a number of opportunities to meet the candidates or review the candidates. Some have been published. I was invited to one on the 10th, which will have to do with also, I think, Bear Creek candidates. But there's a variety of things. I encourage everyone to inform themselves. The electric department also has a very interesting workshop coming up, I think on the 29th, that everybody should pay attention and attend. Planning and zoning, on tonight's topic, has an enforcement officer. You guys will talk about that. We have rules up the yin-yang in this country. They don't mean anything if there's not enforcement. You know, if there are people who can throw garbage on the street without correction, they'll do it. So it may be a valuable thing to look at. Seward Highway project, I've mentioned before, the length through Moose Pass is critical. What was published recently in the paper is not fully accurate, but those people along the road have had 0 correspondence with DOT. 0. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Does anyone else want, I couldn't see, oh yeah, come on up, Becky.
I'm sitting here.
I'll sit here.
Sit in a chair.
Becky Dunning, inside the city. I like following Bruce, agree with a lot of things. Wanted to also mention that there are about the 2 seats vacant on Pat Cab. Call the clerk's office to pick up applications or find out how to apply for that. Seward Bear Creek Flood Advisory Board also has 3 seats, and nobody has turned in an application for those, so I'm concerned with them getting a quorum. That is a very important group that isn't mentioned very much. Historic Preservation Commission has 1 seat available, and KIBH is doing, Seward Public Radio is doing Meet the Candidates Night, 6:30 Wednesday at the Ray Building, which is 125 at Thursday, 3rd Avenue, where we will meet all the candidates hopefully for all the candidates for the mayor, all the city council members. There's a few that can't attend, but all of the not to be confused with the Bear Creek Flood Advisory Board, though there will be somebody from there to speak, Nick will be, but the Seward Bear Creek Fire Department has 4 seats that are up for election for their advisory board, so those candidates will be there. Public is invited. It won't be, there'll be a chance to ask questions afterwards if the candidates choose to hang out, but we just have each candidate reading a 5-minute statement, and if somebody can't attend, I will read what they wrote in the pamphlet. And I think there's 2 that can't attend, but people have been really good about getting back to me. So thank you, everything that you guys do, and for letting people, even though I say Becky from inside the city, I want to remind people from outside the city, I don't feel I was treated any different when I was saying Becky Dunn from outside the city for about 20 years over there. So I really wanted to encourage people from outside the city to speak to, and that Meet the Candidates Night, people from outside and inside the city obviously are welcome. The same building, the city is having a utility town hall that's just discussing utility, and at 7 o'clock. That is something I'm encouraging the public to attend. We did an interview at Sacktown on YouTube where the Meet the Candidates Night will be, you'll be able to view that after the fact also. We did an interview with Taylor Crocker that you can view before that meeting. I think that would be handy. And I'm going to double check here to see. Well, somebody has trouble writing. That's me. So I'm just going to wrap it up.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Good timing. Anyone else at this point? Come on up. Chris.
Christine Casagrande, inside city limits. First, I'd like to say thank you, administration, council. You have done a wonderful job of hiring the best administration I have ever seen. I haven't really been involved in city business for long, but all the way from clerk's office to manager's office to the HR department to Parks and Rec, it seems like everywhere I go, the morale is absolutely amazing. So it's such a breath of fresh air, and it feels amazing to be seen and heard everywhere I go. And I thank you guys, because ultimately you guys are the ones evaluating and keeping them happy, and so thank you. I am a consultant now, kind of. I started another business called The Consulting Fern, and my most recent project is consulting for the Mount Alice Estates subdivision across the bay. We just completed the road. We're 98% complete. We have a couple small things left on the road before we tear it back up again and put electric in. And we are waiting to do our electric and put the lots on the market until we know more about the process of the Developer Reimbursement Fund. We've received a quote from the city for $100,000 to install our electric. We are fully prepared to pay that. in hopes that we can apply for the part of the developer reimbursement that is the 50% reimbursement after we've fronted the funds. So what we're looking for from the city, hopefully, if everything goes our way, and we understand it doesn't always, and we're okay if it doesn't, we're just got our fingers crossed, that we can apply for that $50,000 sooner than later. Thank you for passing the ordinance of making the application process more transparent. I think that is a beautiful start to this ever-changing, evolving, growing program that is obviously, I mean, we just look at what Seward's done in the last 5 years is breathtaking because of this program. And I hope to see it keep on transforming, evolving, and growing. So thank you for the application process. I love that you guys are talking tonight about the matrix. With that said, the other part of the program that seems very cloudy and not clear to me, and hopefully maybe when you guys bring it forward to discussion tonight, you can help clarify the first part of the developer reimbursement program application instructions, because the 10 days have gone by. My understanding is I can now fill out this application. I think you guys are going to change it after tonight. I'm okay, I'll fill it out again, it's okay, I won't get mad. The City of Seward permits, when funds are available, developers to apply for reimbursement. So what I would like to know, what is the definition of when funds are available? Because I know there's funds there now, but do you wait till a certain point? Do you wait till everything that you've put out is reimbursed? Is that defined? If it's not defined, can you guys define it in the code? Can you make it as clear as the application process? That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak right now? Okay, seeing none, I'll close citizen comments and move to the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. I'd ask for a motion to approve and a second, please.
We'll move for the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any changes to the agenda or consent? I see none, so we're ready to vote. Mr. Clerk?
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda, Osenga,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, your agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and on the consent agenda is the approval of the August 25th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes, Resolution 2025-088, authorizing the city manager to purchase 2 Can-Am four-wheelers on tracks for the electric department in the amount of $38,840.71. Resolution 2025-089, authorizing the city manager to purchase the remaining components for the Nash Road transmission line rebuild project from General Pacific in the amount of $130,123.30 plus a 10% contingency. Resolution 2025-090, authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement with Liftoff for a 1-year renewal of the city's Microsoft 360 licensing subscription in the amount of $47,829.60. Resolution 2025-091, approving membership in the Railbelt Transmission Organization and authorizing the city manager to execute all necessary documents and pay associated fees as invoiced. And lastly, no grounds for protest for the liquor license renewal for the Sea Salt Alaskan Bar and Grill.
Okay, thank you very much. Now we're down to the city manager report on page 49. You can find it, Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I would like to highlight over Labor Day weekend, all of the hard work our Public Works Department and other organizations did to make sure that Lowell Creek Tunnel did its job and everybody in the bridge didn't flood over. You'll see some photos on page 51 of the packet. At one point, we saw up to 479 cubic feet per second going through the tunnel on Thursday night, so it was a doozy of a Labor Day weekend for sure. Also in the Public Works realm, you may notice some work on the sidewalks by Kawabi Park over here, where Public Works Director Doug Schessler and I had come up with a plan to test a section of sidewalks over the winter to ensure that if we moved forward with this type of sidewalk, they would last a winter. So we've had some issues in the past with sidewalks lasting one, maybe 2 winters before needing to be redone again. So we wanted to see what the strength of this new sidewalk creation, refurbishment would look like. So you'll see that, and then we'll be able to report back at the end of the winter how everything held up, and hopefully move forward with refurbishing a few more of the sidewalks in that realm. Also, I'd like to note that the Parks and Rec Department, their park maintenance is in the process of moving to the old Coast Guard building over in the harbor. So that'll be a really good opportunity to move them down there and be closer to a lot of the stuff that they do, and have some more space for storing their tools and working on things like that. So they're in the process of doing that. We're really excited for that move for them. And then last but not least, it was mentioned a few times in the public comment, but we will be having a town hall on the electric utility on September 29th at 7 p.m. at the Ray Building. We're really looking forward to having a lot of public engagement and back and forth on that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the city manager? Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. For the utility town hall, will that be aired anywhere, radio or YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We can, yes. We have not hashed out the details of it, but yes, we will air it either on radio and or YouTube. So yeah, we'll find a way to do that.
Any other questions? Mr. Bickling, did you have anything to add to?
No comments, thank you.
Okay. Well, things are moving along. Hopefully the rain doesn't cause any more tunnel issues, but here we go. Okay, any other comments? All right, city clerk report. You've got something in here on page 58. Do you want to say something about it?
Yes, thank you, Mayor McClure. My report is in regard to the regular municipal election coming up in October, and we will be starting the absentee in-person voting on Monday, September 22nd, right here in council chambers, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, and we'll continue that right up through Monday, October 6th, the day before Election Day. And that's more informally known as early voting, so you can come in and vote ahead of time and fill out the envelopes here for the City of Seward ballot, as well as the Kenai Peninsula Borough ballots. We'll have all those on hand. Okay. And the next page is the sample ballot if anyone wants to take a look.
Okay, thank you. And a question for the clerk's office, which I probably know the answer to, but do you still offer, if someone needed assistance at home, that used to be that the clerk would sometimes bring a ballot or allow a person to proctor a ballot? Do you still do that?
Yes, we do. We don't personally deliver the ballots,
Okay.
but a representative can pick one up and fill out a different type of paperwork and take the ballot to the person and then bring it back for them.
Okay, I did that for my mom once when she couldn't get out of the house, and that's important for people to know, because they can still participate as long as, you know, they can sign and such. Okay. Any questions for the clerk? Okay, thank you. And then we have the city attorney report, and we've got Cody here today. There's a report on page 61, and you can do what you want. This is Cody. Wow. I always give that same thing to Sam, so, you know, you go for it.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess just to highlight a couple things, our office has been pretty busy, just helping with projects around the city, and it's been a really fun last month. One project wrapping up is we successfully negotiated a stipulation for the lease of JD and getting that moved. So the court accepted the stipulation and just issued an order yesterday or today. So they'll have until the end of the year to get it moved, and then the city kind of has free reign to just move it themselves or do whatever the city wants. So that, it's been a long saga with that vessel, so it's nice to get it wrapped up and get a court order. And then I'll highlight a couple of the utility things, just because that's what I tend to work on. For the RTO, the RCA has started the process of looking at the tariff that the RTO filed, and today they came out with a procedural schedule. So by end of February, early March is when the hearing will be for that, and there are a couple rounds of testimony that will go back and forth between the RTO and the intervening parties. So there are 14 parties in the case, so it's big, and it's like statewide issue, so it's exciting for Seward to be a part of that. And then the beginning of June, first week of June, is when an order will be issued. And then with Chugach Electric, we filed the new wholesale power supply contract. There were no public comments on it, and October 6th is the date we can expect to hear back from the commission. And as you know, there were no comments, so I'm assuming should be a pretty easy thumbs up for the commission to approve that. Any questions?
Questions for Cody? No questions. Good report. Thank you very much. Okay, moving along. We're down to the public hearing time. We have 2 resolutions for public hearing. And if we're ready to proceed with that, the first one is Resolution 2025-084. I would ask the clerk to read a truncated version of this into the record. He will explain.
Resolution 2025-084, authorizing the city manager to negotiate the purchase of parcel 14502-302. And the legal description is in the packet if anyone wants to see it.
Yes, we decided not to read the entire legal description, okay, but it's right there in the agenda even. You'll find this on page 63. I ask for a motion to approve and a second, please. Does anyone have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-084.
Thank you.
And I'll second.
All right, we got that far. I was worried. Mr. Vice Mayor.
I would like to step away from the dais on this particular resolution, as I think I don't want to cloudy up the whole process, so I'd like to just go ahead and just say I don't really have a conflict of interest, but it is my family, so I would like to step away from this.
And if there's no objection, I'll agree with that, just because for transparency, as a family member is involved in this. If you, okay, go that way. All right, where are we here? Madam City Manager, a report on this, and then we'll have the public hearing.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask Deputy City Manager Jason Bickling to speak to this.
Okay, I think it's just pretty clear that what the resolution is, what it says it is just authorizing the city manager to negotiate the purchase of a piece of property. And we will be discussing this, kind of the details of that, as part of confidential negotiation, because just the way things are, because when we're looking to spend the city's money and purchasing that. But anything that we will bring, like if we were able to negotiate an agreement for this purchase, we would have to bring that back before you in another public hearing with the price and the purchase and sale agreement that you guys would have to approve. So this is just giving the city manager the go-ahead and have discussions about that with your permission. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing on Resolution 2025-084. Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed in to speak?
Nobody is signed in.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak? Okay, come on up.
Can we have a little bit more of an explanation on what we're speaking, what property it is before we speak? Because I want to speak if it's the property I think it is.
We can,
Yeah,
okay, go ahead.
so it's the property located by the school, one that was previously identified as a prime area for our police department. So,
So,
Yes.
and you know the rules, but you have 5 minutes to speak on this. We need your name and inside again.
Becky Dunn, inside the city limits. I would love this, please. That's a great location. If anybody wants to reach out for me later on, I can tell them a little more about why I think that's a great idea, but it's out of tsunami zone. It is next to the school. That's an excellent place. So yes, please.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak to this resolution? It's your last chance. Okay, I will close the public hearing then and bring it back to council. Councilmember Finch.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Everybody knows we're short housing. And I talked to a couple contractors today, and that prime real estate would produce 12 to 18 houses near a school. I find it hard to use it's out of the tsunami zone, when we're putting a fire department in the tsunami zone, we're taking it out of a higher elevation and putting it in a lower elevation. Right now, the police department have 2 blocks, and they're on the main road. They can respond to anywhere in town, high-speed chases, which we've had happen all the way out to Little Point from Anchorage, to bar incidences, to fights. Now you're gonna have them in the middle of a residential area that could increase noise traffic, decrease property values, disrupt the neighborhood's harmony. That's prime real estate for building houses near a school system. Why don't we put the police department where the fire department is now once the fire department gets built? Because using the tsunami as a reason for the police department to move it there, but not the fire department, because they want to build a big fire hall down there. That fire hall is going right in a tsunami zone. We're actually lowering the level of land to move the fire department. I don't think this would be a good place for the police department because of disruptions it would cause in the neighborhood and take 12 to 18 houses that could be built. I mean, we have our own land, and now we're looking at purchasing more land. When we got land we should be looking at to build on.
Okay, okay, thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. It's my understanding that our police department does the majority of their dispatch to calls and services to the community from out in the field. Are there, I don't know if maybe administration can answer this, but are there typically police officers waiting at the police station to go out on calls, or are they out in the field typically?
I would say normally they're out in the field. There's probably certain times of the day when they might get a call when they're in here, but more often than not, that's why they differ from the fire department, because the fire department always responds from right there, and the police department are usually, their job is to patrol, and so they're usually out in the field. So, yeah.
Go ahead. Thank you. And I didn't see it in here, or maybe I might have passed over it. How many acres approximately is this?
2.7.
2.7, and thank you. Will we use the entire 2.7 for a police station, or could some of it be used in other ways?
Well, we have not gone through the entire, they developed a model when we did the feasibility study that said we need kind of like a minimum of 2.1 acres. And so that was what they came up with. So, but we have not actually gone and kind of, we had actually a first meeting earlier today to kind of go and discuss. So we'd go through that same kind of process of looking at the site and understanding traffic patterns and that kind of thing, so, but that was what they came up with.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
That's why we're here.
I didn't think I'd have so many on this one, but I do. Do we know, or has there been any information provided about the pros or maybe the cons of having a police station so close to our schools? Do we, I don't know if there's any information.
Well, they did do, I mean, when they did the, they did the public safety feasibility study, they were looking in kind of like ideal places, and one of the reasons why, and you know, both chiefs can give you a lot of the backstory on like why they prefer these sites. And there, in Seward, there is no such thing as this like perfect area. The fire station out there may be a little bit lower, but it's also way further back in the zone, which does make a difference as far as elevation goes. And they went through some different areas and why they should actually not be co-located. Because if one gets taken out, you're dealing with, you lose that redundancy. But ultimately, like our backup EOC is currently at Mountain Haven. And so our goal is to always have, we prefer to have some kind of EOC or site. It'll have the police department dispatch and the EOC would be in there. But it'd be to have that completely out of the tsunami zone. Also to the shelter is the high school in emergency situations. So it's also advantageous in that way.
Thank you.
Okay, other comments? So what this is doing, this resolution just authorizes the city manager, which is probably Mr. Bickling.
It would be the pair of us, yeah.
Both of you, to negotiate a price. The price is pretty steep if you've looked into it at this point. But if there's an agreed upon price, it will have to come back to us as a public hearing item, correct? And so there will be another public hearing where people can weigh in, is this too much, should we do it, and then we would vote. So it's not a given that we pass this, that we're going to do this, it's just saying, well, let's look into it. I think that's, am I interpreting that correctly? Because there are some issues, and I agree with Councilmember Finch, that there are some questions about that, so. Anyone else before we vote? Okay, Mr. Clerk, I guess we're ready to vote.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-084. Warner?
Yes.
Finch?
No.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, you may come back. Mr. Vice Mayor. Our second and last public hearing is Resolution 2025-085. And when you're ready, Mr. Clerk, could you please read that in the new method of reading in without total descriptions?
Resolution 2025-085, authorizing the city manager to enter into a new lease with Pacific Seafood Seward LLC for a seafood processing facility on 3 parcels near 3201 Sorrel Road.
And the description is in the packet on page, and in the agenda also, and you can find this on page 68. I'd ask for a motion to approve and a second, please.
I move for the approval of Resolution 2025-085.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the second or companion resolution that finishes the project of authorizing Pacific Seafood to move from this side of the bay on Lowell Point Road across to SMIC. And so the first one that we passed I believe at the last meeting or the meeting before, terminated their current lease. This resolution authorizes Pacific Seafood to lease the new area. So this is the lease that puts them into that facility processing over in SMIC, as they are also in the process of acquiring the Polar Seafoods business as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll open the public hearing on Resolution 2025-085. Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed in?
Nobody is signed in.
Is there anyone out there? Here's one now. Come on up. Once again, we need to know who you are and where you live. And you get 5 minutes.
Bruce Joff outside city limits. This is a no-brainer. The seafood industry in Seward has been instrumental and tremendously important, and early development over here, the Anderson family and others, its time has come and gone. So developing the 4th of July area, SMIC or whatever you want to call it, is almost a no-brainer. That we've lost one seafood company over there in the last few years, and someone wants to pick up the pieces and move forward. I think we should give them every encouragement we could.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. Any questions, comments, anything? I think we're ready to vote on this one, as Bruce said.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-085. Wells?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes?
Finch?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay. Which takes us down to Resolution 2025-086. This is not a public hearing item. And when you're ready, Mr. Clerk, could you please read that into the record?
Resolution 2025-086, authorizing the city manager to accept a proposal from McKenna Brothers Paving to pave Betty Cato Avenue in the amount of $94,450 plus a 10% contingency and appropriating funds.
Okay, and I'd ask for a motion to approve and a second, please.
Move for the approval of Resolution 2025-086.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Administration, what you got?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is a resolution that would authorize us to move forward with paving the Betty Cato over leading up to the prison. And that road is already paved, but if you've driven on it recently, it's in very, very poor condition and is constantly ripping apart our vehicles as we maintain and go through this road. And so the goal with this is to pave with an asphalt cap on top of it, which makes it much stronger in the long run and longer sustaining and less prone to falling into disrepair as is its current condition. So we're hoping to move forward with that to save a lot in the long run, to make sure that that road is in better condition.
Okay, thank you. This is not a public hearing, so it brings it back to us to discuss if there is a discussion. Council member.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the record, that road was paved in, I think, 1989, and it isn't recent that it's going downhill. It's been steadily cracking over the years. So this would be a great idea.
Okay. And I failed to mention, it's on page 116 of the packet if you're following along. Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. I think this is an interesting resolution to come at the same time as a public comment that was made earlier today by the lady that lives on Fogneck. I think it would be important for us as a city to look at the many roads in our community that may need to be paved and try to see if there's a way that we can develop some type of priority list moving forward. And yeah, that's kind of my piece on this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Well, I think we're ready to vote on this one then.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-086. Wells?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, the other resolution we have, 2025-087, we're going to discuss and vote on after the evaluation, which is going to be in executive session, the evaluation of the city manager, and then we'll come back out and we will discuss and vote on that at that time. Which brings us now, if we're ready to move on still without a break? Okay. To other new business. We have two items. The first is council feedback on the DRP application and project criteria. And you'll find some information and things on page 135. And I believe it's Mr. Bickling that's involved in this pretty heavily, so. And this is a discussion, so it's not quite as formal, but I'll keep everybody under control. Thank you. And I found a couple things here. These were already done.
All right, just to kind of give a recap, at our last meeting, we kind of briefly went over some criteria, and I placed that criteria kind of in a draft matrix, and we had some discussions, and then just to give the topic more time, we were directed to give you guys some time for input and bring it back to see if you wanted to add anything to those, to that like criteria list that we could form into the matrix. And so what I have here is just a lay down, just to bring that feedback back to you. And so the additional discussion items were, one of the things that has come out interesting is the topic of paving. And so that would be something that you guys could just from here on out make kind of an executive decision, is that if you guys are going to, if someone is going to do a DRP, they need to include paving in that. And then a councilman brought up one of the things which I wanted to clarify and bring to your attention is that it does have a question on the application if they've had previous participation in that. And so that is just something that it's good to know. One is like, is this person coming to us and they've never had the opportunity to participate? Or is this someone like, have they participated and did they do well in that? And so that was just a discussion I had with a council member. I just wanted to make sure that was kind of noted. I do think that's an important piece of that. And then in looking at some additional criteria or points, there's neighborhood like bikeability and walkability. One example is I know that there's a path being put in from the Hilltop subdivision straight through into the schools. And so they'll be able to like walk from that neighborhood straight. There's like I don't know if it's like a 5-foot, 10-foot easement for that. Another thing that we've heard over and over again is green spaces or parks, and also street lighting. So those are just some conversation pieces I had with individual members. And then down below are just some kind of, a few additional applicable comprehensive plan items that we do have plan items that address like community appearance, or like continue to require landscaping plans for CUPs, implement aesthetics when designing and maintaining roadways, just making sure that we're maintaining our small town character, feel, and development, expand the opportunity for affordable, diverse year-round housing through appropriate land use regulations, support apartments and other high-density residential development, which kind of goes back to that, one of those other criteria of making sure that we're addressing all types of housing. And then provide safe and efficient vehicular transportation facilities that meet the needs of the community. And on that old plan was pave Oak Street route to Seward Mountain Haven and pave Dickcraft Road to Diamond Boulevard intersection, which those have been done, but it's just a previous example of that this is not new to us. So I just think, again, there was another one down there that just encouraged like the landscaping of like developed property, which I think aligns with things like green spaces. Anyway, those are just some, comprehensive backup, things that justifications if that's what you guys would like to go forward. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll let you guys discuss.
Yeah, anything more that we want to add? I like where this is heading. Councilmember Finch.
Yes, I have a question. And here's an example, or a little more clarity. I'm going to use Councilmember Wells as an example. Let's say I'm a new contractor. I want to build 4 houses, and Mr. Wells has, as a contractor, and his second time in DRP, he wants to build 4 fourplexes. How is it determined? I'm the new guy. He's been there before, and he completed this project. He's got 4 fourplexes he wants to build, and I got 4 2-bedroom houses I want to build. How do we determine who's going to be selected.
Well, I think that's why we're developing this rubric criteria. So that way, so that way you can say, hey, this is important for us to know that this is a new developer. But also too, ultimately it's going to come down to who's doing what the community needs most, really. And if all things being equal, if this is a new guy and they're both kind of doing the exact same thing, then obviously you'd want to give it to the new guy. Based on the criteria, because you guys would be filling this out, because it's like, well, tell us more. What are you going to do? What's your street lighting going to look like? Are you going to have any green spaces? Are you going to have, what are those types of things? And so ultimately, this evaluation rubric is going to be the tool that you guys use to determine kind of who's getting funding. And you could have both those guys come to you and you could say, hey, these are both great ideas. We have X much money. We're going to give you, fund like 30% of your DRP, because it says that you can fund up to 50%. It doesn't say you have to fund 50%. And so that could be a thing too, where you could give all these parties like some DRP funding, but maybe fund one a higher percentage than another, just based on that's what you prefer, or that's what scored the highest in the matrix. So that's kind of the way I see that working out.
And like I say, the more clarity and definition we can get on that for the public would be, I think, a lot better.
Yeah, and we are, I don't know which council member mentioned it last time, but we will be handing out this rubric with the application when it's finalized, so that way they can understand, like, this is what you guys are going to ultimately be evaluated on in your project. And when that work session does come before council, this is what you guys need to be thinking about. So that way, you're letting them see, I guess, the test before they get to it.
Yeah, Councilmember Kreitz.
I did have a question in regards to the wording where Reese was saying that when funds are available, are you looking at defining that? And I guess my thought on that would be, when you may have someone that comes in and they have a $50 million development project versus someone that comes in and has $1 million, obviously their cost and our cost are going to be sufficiently less or more. I mean, would that be like a percent of the money that's in that fund based on what we're approving? How are you determining that?
Well, I think that's why we actually need to see the applications first. So that way, if we have 4 applications and there's only like a need of, let's say, $500,000, and we have that $500,000, then that's not a problem, right? But if we have 4 applications and we have $300,000 and they want $1.2 million, then I would say we could have a conversation of like, hey, do you guys want to go ahead and discuss this now? Or do you guys want to wait until this built up a little bit more before we have that discussion? And so, to me, this is going to be like a really transparent, fluid, like real-time conversation that we have with you guys on what the needs are, and we'll be able to see them since we have the applications in, and discussing those with you guys pretty openly, so that way it's very much a transparent process. Does that answer your question?
It does.
And I do think that I was reading over that where it says the city of Sioux permits when funds are available to reimbursement. And so I do think that we probably need to, I do think that's correct, but it's not necessarily as clear as it could be. And this is still kind of work in progress until we get this evaluation piece done up, so we'll go ahead and get that, so I think it's a little more clear.
And how often are you going to, like, if you're having people apply every month, are you bringing these to council every month? Or how often are you going to bring them to council?
I think that we'll probably end up doing is we'll probably take, the first thing we'll do is we'll probably just keep you guys up to date in the city manager report on like, hey, we've received this many applications and this is the rough dollar amount. Here's where we're currently sitting at in the DRP. And give you guys kind of updates like that so that it'll just be plain and clear in the city manager report. And then we won't need to like heavily discuss it until we think like, hey, we're getting close to this place where I think that we need to have some discussions, and so then we'll just schedule a work session then.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was thinking. I would hate to be on the developer side and be like, I don't know when this is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else? Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. I just wanted to clarify the question on the application about them being a previous participant. I'm not seeing that on this draft one currently, and if I'm missing it, please let me know. If it's not on here, is that something that council would like to see on the application?
And I think this may not be like the most updated version, if it does not, because I know for sure.
Yeah, I think we should have that on there.
Yeah, no, it is, and I apologize, this is not the most updated version, because,
I saw it.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. And is this also something that can be placed on the rubric as part of our scoring process for an application? Yeah, thank you. And then I guess I just want to ask council as a whole, do we also agree that requiring developers to pave roads as part of the application or part of the scoring process, is that something
I
we're
would
wanting?
love to be able to do that. It's pricey. I mean, that might make a difference in development, but I think
It saves
it's,
a lot of coming back and then us having, we need
Right.
funds to pave this section of road.
Section.
Yeah.
And then it's on the rubric, it's not make or break, it just adds a piece to that decision
an
puzzle as you're having the
because if somebody
conversation.
was, then that might,
That helps.
If you're looking at two developers and one is.
that would sweeten it. Yes, and going, yeah.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor McClure. From some previous comments that I've heard from the public, it sounds like it's really important to the overall community about green spaces and parks, and especially in some of these larger neighborhoods that may be being developed. Bikeability, walkability, it's something I love about our community. It's super easy to just get around by walking or biking. Would you all also agree to have something like that on the scoring rubric? Is that important enough to us?
You're suggesting,
Like, well, I was
Green
thinking
space.
that earlier, I was like sidewalks, like that would, to me would be important. Are they gonna put sidewalks in? Because the safety of somebody not being, a child not being in the road or, kind of thing.
but also green.
Yeah, or, green space or even just a wider road. I know, maybe Jason can talk to that a little
So
bit.
sidewalks will turn the thing upside down because they're so cost prohibitively expensive.
really?
And so, but what we can do is we can make sure that they have adequate, like,
Edges.
road edges and road widths, and making sure that it's going that direction, so that way we can have that, like, that walkability. I mean, imagine if, like, Doorway were another, like,
Yeah.
8 feet wider on each side.
Or even four.
It would change, it would totally completely change that, like, the walkability of that road on there. And so I think just making sure that we have that walkability in that way. So, yep.
I think we're happy. We're happy? Okay. This looks good. Thank you for your work.
Okay, I'll do a revised one,
Right.
and then make sure you guys are able to get your eyes on it, because this is something that it's not codified, so we can kind of tweak it as we,
Right.
as we go.
So if we find anything, we can.
Yes. Yes, thank you, I appreciate your feedback.
One other thing, discussing the P and Z recommendation for an enforcement officer. There's an informational page on 141 in the packet, which came from Planning and Zoning, and I brought this forward at the request of the Planning and Zoning Chair, because they came up with this, and we should at least weigh in on our opinion. If you've read this, the idea is, we have all these ordinances, we have all these codes and things, and things you're not supposed to do, but we don't have a lot of enforcement, and one of the options is having each department enforce their little area, which is time-consuming for most of the departments. And so it's been talked about over the time I've been on council. At one point, one of the former city managers appointed an enforcement officer, and it upset a lot of people, because all of a sudden, things were being looked at that, like not mowing the lawn, well, not so much mowing the lawns, but, just the appearance of things, junk cars. Anyway, there's all sorts of things. And so what I was thinking, we could just weigh in on this, and a possibility would be to direct administration to look into the costs or how this would work. It wouldn't be an immediate step, that's what I'm thinking, but I don't know. So what do you guys, let's go to administration.
Well, I would say if the discussion leads towards recommending that we create a position for a compliance officer, I believe that the recommendation from council would be to direct administration to bring back a resolution creating a position. And so we would put a draft job description together with the cost analysis and everything that would entail. So if the conversation tonight leads you to that, that would be my recommendation for what your recommendation should be.
Okay.
And then but with that as well, there would be a second discussion when that resolution is brought back.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be the be-all and end-all, but, one of the things I've heard over and over is, if you can't, most people obey the rules, most people do. But there are people who don't obey the rules, and if they're not obeying the rules, and there's no consequence for that, then why should you obey the rules? But if there was a consequence such as having a compliance officer, even talk to them, or a letter, it doesn't have to be, So, I don't know how anyone else up here feels. The planning and zoning was pretty much for this. If you watch that, the meeting, and maybe, I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that, or what. Yeah, Councilmember Fitch.
I was just thinking, it mentioned about the cost of legal fees, and I thought also bring back what are yearly costs of legal fees that were occurring dealing with that stuff, just to see the balance, which is more cost effective.
There could be an argument that at the beginning, if things are caught ahead of time, rather than bringing them to Cody once they've reached the point of, we need to bring this to legal action, there could be cost savings there.
Maybe information like that.
Yeah.
And I would say too, I end up being the compliance officer a lot, which is, it's a giant time suck, and because once things, like if it's just beyond like a certain letter, then it gets very time consuming, and then it makes it so that I actually can't do my job, or I'm like, something's falling off of the plate. I mean, like, Kat and I have a conversation about this regularly, like when things start spooling up and we're dealing with compliance a lot, it is a drain, and I would say that Danny and Courtney probably would tell you the same thing, where all of a sudden it's a vacuum of our efforts, and so it makes us not being able to be, that's hard to quantify. But I can give you a specific example. I have not been able to finish like our site emergency action plans for like 18 months, just because like you get involved in this and you just can't get back to that, because this requires something that's like now. You start working on digging up information or all this other stuff, and so I would say that there's also a piece that's not quantifiable for how much it, like, Danny and Courtney can send a letter and get that first thing going, but if this person is not going to respond, then that's something a compliance officer could take, or a compliance officer could also take these things that we don't have the bandwidth to take on. Like, there are a number of properties with like overgrown trees, with junk cars, with that we get complaints on a fairly regular basis, that we would like to get to that, but we can't. So.
Vice Mayor Rosenga.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I probably should have caught this in the planning and zoning meeting, but what is the capabilities of a compliance officer? I mean, how far legally does this go? I mean, what are the things that they can and cannot do? I mean,
well, it would still fall within the realm of what we're able to do as a city, so they're not going to have handcuffs and arrest somebody. But if there was ever a situation that would escalate to that point, we would have an officer alongside them. But it would be similar to how Jason or I or Danny respond to enforcement issues, where usually it's a first round of sending a letter, second round of sending a heavier worded letter, and then beyond that we engage a legal team. But with a code enforcement officer in that realm, it would be one point of contact throughout, and one person who's that point of contact throughout the entire process to find information and work with the legal team and respond, hopefully at the beginning, to say, hey, here's what your next steps are. So nothing in the realm of policing.
thank you.
And once again, this was recommended by P&Z's to us. So, anybody else want to weigh in? Yes,
I'll weigh in.
Councilmember Wells, and then I'll...
So, I am 100% against this compliance. I have concerns about strained community relations. I have concerns about selective enforcement and the negative impact on vulnerable, financially insecure residents. I think that our city, yes, we have codes that all of us who have to sit through the want to sit through all the P&Z meetings, and who enjoy reading all of our codes as much as the mayor does.
Thank you.
We can all drive around and go, that's out of code, that's out of code, that's out of code, that's out of code. Do we want to be a police state? Is that what we're really, really looking for here? Because we're talking about creating a position for somebody to run around and be at the whim of the squeakiest wheel. The resident that calls in, this person's out of compliance, this person's out of compliance, this is out of compliance, which I'm sure administration has to deal with right now on a regular basis. But filtering that person to a compliance officer, which is a year-round salary, just because we have residents who want to call and report what they think is a code violation, I think is a concern. I really do. And when I listen to administration and I listen to our amazing legal team, and granted, I know that you have to send out a letter, and granted, I know people ignore you, but not everybody does. And I think it shows who we are as a community that we're willing to reach out and not send a code enforcement officer to your place of business or to your house. And so I think the way that we're doing it right now seems to be working. And all the legal fees that we've had to accrue due to enforcement have been huge, huge things that we've had to deal with, from businesses and boats and things like that. Do we really want to have somebody running around checking individual homes to make sure they're mowing their lawns? So that's where I leave it at that.
This was the argument when we had one briefly before, so I hear you. Councilmember Finch.
Councilmember. And I can speak from experience on the code enforcement officer. You know, I dealt with it with my mother's house in lower 48. There's a lot of invasive species that are now plant-wise in Alaska, choke cherries, all that stuff. They dealt with stuff like that. They weren't running around saying you need to mow your grass. They're not an HOA. It's not a police state. I have personally worked to get my mom's place in compliance, which is basic upkeep for an elderly person. And to the point that my mother ignored it, she went to court until I got involved because she's just being a stubborn old person. But it's not a police state. It's the basic, you got limbs hanging over the sidewalk, brushes falling on people as they walk, basic code stuff like that. Like I said, I would support looking into seeing the cost effective. I mean, you're pretty much doing it right now with the legal team. What would it cost to hire somebody to do the same thing with Jason being able to catch up on his 18-month backlog?
Okay, thanks. Councilmember Warner, you did have your hand up before, sir.
Thank you, Mayor McClure. This is something that I've really kind of gone back and forth on. I really feel like I can see both sides of this. I do share some of the concerns of maybe a little bit of the nitpicky pieces of it, lawns or vegetation or I don't know, whatever smaller things might be in code. I can see this being really beneficial at the beginning to address some of those larger issues that we see with individuals that continue to be out of compliance and just continuing to blatantly ignore our city code. But I worry about what happens in 2-3 years when we're not having those bigger problems anymore, and what is this full-time position going to be doing? And I believe it was at our last city council meeting, our attorney did say that the city of Seward does a pretty good job at enforcing our current code. And I hear Jason's concern, and I also don't want that to be an extra burden on the position you're doing, because you guys are already doing amazing things at administration. And I don't know that I can really make a decision on this without more public input. I mean, I haven't had any public comments or any emails or anything, so I just really want to do a shout out to the community. Please let us know what you guys think on this, because I don't know, I'm back and forth.
What if we just direct administration to come back with maybe just potentially a cost evaluation of it, but then put it as another discussion item on the next meeting or so, and people can write in or speak at the 3-minute time or something to get more public. We do need that. I don't want to, I mean, you know, we don't have a consensus, obviously. Let me get you and then they'll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So if anyone was present, and this will be my last comment on this, if anyone was present at the very last planning and zoning meeting, or if you watched it, you can see, and I'm not going to quote any one commissioner, however, there was a commissioner that literally stated, well, once we have our compliance officer, we can send them to deal with it. So P&Z commissioners are already, at the last P&Z meeting, talked about, in my opinion, sticking a code officer on something. Already. And that is a slippery, slippery slope. I don't believe our city is that big. I don't believe our community is that big. Maybe we hit 7,000, 8,000 people, we start having those concerns. But I'm extremely concerned about this. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Councilmember Fitch. Oh, it was Kreitz. Sorry, I didn't, there was a hand.
I guess my only thing would be, could you have the departments that are the department heads that are mainly dealing with it? Because it's going to be community development, I would assume, and then under the building department are probably the major departments that are dealing with the enforcement end of this. So maybe hearing from them on their take on things.
What if we move forward with bringing back a brief job description, cost analysis, and some input from those departments as well, and see where that goes, and see what public input comes as well. So we won't go to the next step of a full resolution, but just a little bit more detail, if that is what the council as a body wishes.
Any objection to that level? Because that way we'll know more about what we're talking about. And I, you know, this is a controversial thing, but at least since they went to the work, P&Z went through the work to come up with this recommendation, we needed to air it, I feel. One last thing?
Yeah, one last.
Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. I guess it was before my time, but there was a mention that maybe there was somebody appointed to do this in the past, but it sounds like it wasn't a full-time position with our commitment to PERS. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm pretty sure it was not.
Oh, yeah, an appointed position.
Yeah, I think they just used an attorney to do that, and it did not, I would say just even, it was not done well. I will say, because I do know about some of that going on, and one I heard about it, and then I saw some like evidence in the community development files, and so I would say just in general, it was done very poorly, and was kind of like what you described about bad case scenarios going, only because it was just handled like really poorly.
Yeah, this isn't what we're talking about.
No.
Obviously. Okay, so have we concluded that? All right, for the moment. This brings us to citizen comments. This is the 5-minute time that you can comment on any subject. If there is a citizen or two, come on up. And by now, everyone knows we need your name and if you live inside or outside the city limits.
My name is Mike Taylor. I live inside city limits in the Forest Acres area. I just wanted to say something about the code enforcement officer that I've lived in a community that had a code enforcement officer, and it wasn't a person going around telling people that they needed to cut their lawns, just to clarify that. A lot of Seward is what I like to refer to as quasi-rural. We have, places like Forest Acres, Nash Road, out there. Code enforcement in the places that I've been have been people making sure that they're up to fire code, which is very important in their yards, where the trees being close to houses and such. If there is a forest fire, whole neighborhoods are wiped out. So I just think that the code enforcement officer angle should be really taken seriously.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? This is, oh, come on up, Bruce. Once again, we need your name. Everyone's going to know his name, but
Mayor, I can be trained. Not tamed.
this is true. This is absolutely true.
Bruce Schaff, outside the city limits. An interesting meeting. I really enjoyed some of the discussion, the debate with different opinion. It's a cordial and the proper way I think our society should look at how we solve problems, bringing them to a forum, putting all the options out, discussing them. Not everybody's going to agree, and they shouldn't, quite frankly. I have an old adage about 3 attaboys is worth 1 aw shucks. So I'll start with the attaboys. City Council did a great job in selecting a manager. We had a revolving door of managers that I think ran the city into a jam. Not only did we have the problems with administrating things here in town, there was no vision. There was no hope for the future, quite frankly. Not that these people weren't well-intentioned or capable. Some of them have gone on to do great things in other communities close to us. But none of them had the heart for Seward that I think your current manager does. So you deserve a credit, in my opinion, for making the proper selection in that regard. And obviously, an evaluation, in my opinion, would be 5 stars. Whatever that's worth. The second, the council made a very wise decision after a very tumultuous time with our electric utility, selecting a management team. Regardless of the cost, regardless of whether that's the best management contract or not, the 2 individuals, and Taylor's here, I don't need to blow smoke here, but quite frankly, he's full of good ideas. And Brian, of course, as his mentor, is as well. They've done a tremendous service to the community, and I think if you did a balance sheet, I think you'd see that they're more than pulling their weight. We feel it clear out to Moose Pass, and we hope to for years and years. I said a third thing, that I got the manager written down twice, so. I do not want to complain. I've mentioned before that as your chair, as a member of PACAB and the chair of PACAB, that I felt that there was things that PACAB could do to help the city, and I believe it would be appropriate for the council to consider delegating some more things to them. The meeting tonight, or the topic in the work session tonight, was a clear opportunity for a Port and Harbor Commission, Port and Commerce Commission, to weigh in. There's some really interesting people in that group that have a knowledge of it. I think we will anyway. I mean, there's no question that it'll be in there. There are other things that I think PACAB could help with. Certainly the whole consideration of alternative energy was one thing that PACAB looked at, and I know that the electric department is going to have a meeting on the 29th with new ideas about what kind of electrical generation can happen in the community. PACAB could help with that. I'm enthusiastic for what an advisory board can offer you. We don't have the same authority that planning and zoning has, and the Heritage Historical Group has a different direction completely. But as an advisory board of individuals, PACAB, I think, again, I would say could help you. The Kenai Peninsula Borough, which we are in, even though Seward is a first-class city, and should always remember and be proud of that and maintain that. We're surrounded by the Kenai Peninsula Borough. Cindy Eklund is our representative, will term out this year. There needs to be, next year, sorry. Needs to be consideration of finding someone who can fill that role. She also needs the community's support. At times, previous assembly members have been invited to regular council meetings, might consider that some more. But she is the lone man out on the Central Peninsula and really deserves attention. The school board, at least in Moose Pass area, will also have a position, and I'm not quite sure how the Seward School, this is the Kenai Peninsula School Board. And that's also a position that's very, very important for our community. So that's my time. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Bruce. Anyone else? This is your last chance. Okay, seeing no one else wishing to speak, I'll bring it back to council and administration comments and responses to citizen comments, and I'll start with the city manager.
Thank you to the kind words, and a big thank you overall to R&M and the Harbor Master for the presentations tonight, and I think that's all for me.
Okay, Mr. Bickling.
No comments, thank you.
All right. Councilmember Kreitz.
I'd just like to thank Harbor Master and R&M for the presentation. That was a really good view of what maybe the future can hold for us, and it was kind of fitting that you had the Patriot Day proclamation. I just got back from New York and visited the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, and if you haven't had a chance to do that, I highly recommend it. It's very overwhelming, but awesome.
Okay, Councilmember Finch.
Thank you, Member. Thank the Harbor Master for that presentation. I'd also like to say thank you to the American Legion, because they do a lot more for the public than people realize. They pay a lot of people's electric bills when there's hard times. They provide food, they provide shelter. There's not a vet they won't help, and there's usually most people in town that they're willing to help. Please be careful next 3 days. There's a lot of rain coming, so be mindful of it, plan ahead, be careful. Thank you for everybody's input.
Okay, Councilmember Warner.
Thank you. I actually have a small little monologue. Our strength as a community comes from kindness and respect, even when we disagree. Leaders, whether you're official or unofficial, set the tone, and I hope that we all choose to lead with compassion. We all talk about how much we value Seward's small town character and tight-knit spirit, but that only holds true if we live it out by treating all of our neighbors with dignity, no matter our role or background. Differences in opinion or circumstances shouldn't divide us. They should remind us how important it is to show that our small town character is more than just words. It's how we treat each other. Together we can continue to be the community that we all are proud to call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wells.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councilman. That was great.
That was nice.
I'll echo everything everybody else has said, but I will state that the sound on the meetings on YouTube last week was perfect. So, Mr. Clerk, if you would please pass that info on to IT, it's a huge thank you from my ears.
Will do, thank you.
Vice Mayor Osenka.
I think I'll start off with thank you to R&M Consulting and Harbor Master Saminsky for the presentation for this project, or possible project. I think it planned out really well, and hopefully someday it'll come to fruition. I'd also just say, remember that we do have an election coming up, and do take the time to either attend the meetings, and if you can't, find the respective radio station that might be airing it, or if it's on YouTube, and just try to get well informed about all the candidates and all of our local issues. Thank you.
Okay, and I will echo all the thanks to everyone. It's good to see alternative attorneys here. I watched the planning and zoning meeting, and the sound was fine. You had complained about it, so I was thinking maybe it was just you, but they actually this is good. Anyway, okay, so what we're going to be doing here is, in a couple minutes, we'll be taking a break, and then we'll be going into two different executive sessions. So we'll go into the first one, we'll come back out, and we'll go into the next one, and then at the end of that, we'll come back and discuss and vote on Resolution 2025-087, the city manager's contract. amendments, if that made any sense. But I know we all need a break. Is there anything else to say? Okay, so I will, what am I doing? I guess I'm gaveling us out of this part of the meeting now, right, with a break time specific?
Are we taking a recess first or doing it all combined as
A recess.
a recess? Okay.
Like, yeah, I mean, maybe 5 minutes? Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I will end this portion of the meeting, and we'll be back
Okay, we are
Ready?
back on the air.
Okay, council is back at 8:35, back in session. And at this point, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to have council give direction on the land purchase negotiation for parcel 145023002. So I would need a motion to approve, or to go into that in a second, please.
I'll make the motion to go into executive session regarding resolution 2025-084.
Well, it's not necessarily for that resolution, but it's definitely related to it.
Okay, yeah,
So,
read this.
I'll change that.
Read that.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss, for the council to discuss direction on land purchase negotiations for parcel 145-02302.
Okay, and a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Within this executive session, we will exclude, as prior discussed, Vice Mayor Osenga, because he has a conflict. He will go out. And in this session will be the clerk, city manager, assistant city manager, and council, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we will inform you when we are done. And now we will shut things off and go into executive session.
Okay, the mics are back on, MP3 recorder's on, we're back on the air.
Okay, it is now 8:56, and council is back from our first executive session, where we discussed direction on the land purchase and negotiation for parcel 145023002. And now, we have a second executive session for the annual evaluation of the city manager. And I would ask for a...
He's just cruising around.
I would ask, we're still on, so hold on. Ask for a motion and a second to go into that executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the annual evaluation of the city manager.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and I am assuming we'll have the city manager in? Jason? Not Jason?
No, not Jason.
Okay, and the clerk, correct?
Yeah. You want that?
And the entire council. And so now, we will go in to executive session. There we go. I was so eager.
Okay, give me a second here. Okay, we are back on the air.
Okay, I will gavel us back into this city council meeting session. It is 9:27. We had our second executive session on the evaluation of the city manager. We discussed that. And now we're back in session to bring to the table Resolution 2025-087. And when you're ready, Mr. Clerk, would you please read that into the record?
Resolution 2025-087, approving amendment number 2 to the employment agreement with the city manager and appropriating funds.
And if anyone's watching, you'll find this on page 123 of the packet. I need a motion to approve and a second, please.
Which one is it?
Here.
I move with approval of resolution 2025-087.
I'll second.
Okay, wow. It's been moved and seconded. I don't think we need it read or discuss, any discussion other than just voting? Okay, Mr. Clerk, we are ready to vote.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-087. Wells?
Yes.
Finch?
No.
Osenga?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, and with that approval, I believe that ends our business for tonight. And so, at 9:28, I will gavel us out of this rather long meeting.